Hey guys, it's Jay here with FantasyLabs, and I'm bringing you Volume 3 of the new series, How to Transition from a Fish to a Shark. If you haven't already, I recommend checking out the first two videos, where I start out in video 1 by breaking down the basics and utilizing our free tools in order to maximize the value you are getting as a player. However, the free tools, as good as they are, can only take you so far. In video 2, I showed you why you should subscribe to FantasyLabs and why our player models page is so important. I stress the significance of our data that is constantly updated and the necessary time that it saves you. The models page is definitely our primary premium tool, but in this new video, I want to show off how to combine it with our My Lineups page and our brand new stacking feature to help you find success in tournaments. I think I could easily sit here all day and explain why I think we have the best tools in the industry and why our new stacking builder is one of the best premium features created. But I realized that in order to justify subscribing, you need to see a return on your investment. I'm really not blind to the fact that we need to see value in any of our subscription-based services. Personally, for me, I had to cancel my Birchbox sub because I didn't see any return in smelling like citrus and wet bonfire when the only reason I go outdoors anyways is to grab Chick-fil-A. In DFS, specifically MLB, I think it's getting a bit more difficult to build your bankroll grinding solely cash games. I think at this point you really need to supplement these games with tournament winnings and really diversify your action. So with MLB, the variance is so high that I always stress making sure your bankroll management is tight. I have made a few videos on this in the past, and I'll get into it in the next couple of videos as well, but I really recommend keeping track of your action and your ROI on a nightly basis so that over time you can make adjustments if need be. This is probably the main mistake that I see beginners make when first playing tournaments. So let's start things off by highlighting some tools to help you win in tournaments from the models page. I went over the models page in detail last video, but didn't fully break down the build lineups tab. And then of course our new stacks tab that we just implemented yesterday, we have to go over as well. So I showed you how you can use the optimizer on the build lineups tab to help you create or finish your cash lineups, but I want to now show you how you can use it for tournament lineups. It's very important to first understand that there's an inherent difference in cash lineups and tournament lineups. The process and mindset in creating one of each is completely different, which is why we have different models to help you create different types of lineups depending on the game you're playing. So I've created a video in the past for both cash and tournament building processes where I illustrated the differences and pinpointed specific strategies to succeed in both. I definitely recommend checking those videos out if you're more interested in kind of specific strategies and mindsets in building cash or tournament lineups. So for this video, I'm first going to break down our brand new stacking feature, and I'm going to use an example from Wednesday night's 325,000 prize pool gold glove on DraftKings, where first place got 100 stacks because this was the last large tournament on either site. Thursday, it's kind of a broken up, not full slate, and today's Friday morning, so we haven't had any games tonight, unfortunately. So I'm going to use Wednesday night's tournament, which is the biggest on either site. And first, I just want to say when you're building tournament teams, or even just throwing one lineup in a large field tournament, or even any tournament really, you're inevitably going to realize that winning lineups usually consist of stacks. Strategy for tournaments, stacking is definitely my favorite and one that I strongly recommend implementing. Stacks are when you have multiple players from the same team with a limit of 5 from one team on DraftKings and a limit of 4 on one team from FanDuel. And the reason why stacking is such a great strategy to implement is that when a single team scores double-digit runs, for example, or strings together a lot of home runs, you can combine points by maximizing positive correlation in terms of production. So when two of your guys get on and your next guy hits a home run, for example, you get all the RBIs, all the runs, and so on and so forth. So needless to say, our new stacking feature makes it so easy for you to highlight certain stacks that you want to target. In my last video, I briefly discussed all of our pro models and recommended which ones to use based on what type of game you're playing, depending on the size and the payout. So for this gold glove on Wednesday night on DraftKings, it was actually a 1K buy-in and had just 325 teams, which is really nice for first place prize pool of 100 grand. So for this tournament, I'd recommend using something similar to the Vegas heavy model, which heavily emphasizes Vegas lines and creates positive offensive stacks. So we can go ahead and pull up in that model. And if you listen to the last video, I did recommend what types of games would match for me personally for each model that you can use. Alright, so let's go to the Wednesday slate by clicking date here, jumping back to the 29th. Alright, let's make sure we go to the main slate, which was 8 games. You can now go to stacks, and you can see the stack size. I recommend usually using a 4 or 5 stack size for all tournaments on DraftKings, and a 3 to 4 stack size for all tournaments on FanDuel. I'll select 5 for this and build by rating, which you can also build by Pro Trends and ISO, which just sorts the lineups in the order of top total rating or top total Pro Trends for each lineup. And then the lineup status, you can choose between confirmed and projected, confirmed and all. For this purpose, since this slate already happened, all these players are obviously confirmed, so we'll select that. And then all you have to do is click build stacks. So as you can see, the Yankees are kind of littered up top. They were a popular stack on this night. We did 5, so you can see the highest total rating, 348.6, a 5-man Yankee stack, the 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, which is actually very appealing because it's not as chalky as just a 1 through 5, for example. So this is the Vegas heavy model and the highest stack, so you can click that. And since this is a 1K tournament, I think it's hard to generate multiple lineups unless your bankroll is very healthy. So for this, I'll just do a single entry and go for the glory. And for single entry, with this page, you can either build your team manually by filling in each position, or you can click the optimize button, which will fill in the rest based on the model that you pulled up. I'll set off for optimizing because I really like this model for this type of tournament, and let's see what we get. Alright, so you can see the full team here. We were able to afford Max Scherzer, which is nice, even though he was 67% owned, but he came through with 38.7 DraftKings points. I think he was clearly the #1 pitcher on the slate, and I generally always recommend having at least one ace on DraftKings in tournaments. Then you can fill in your other pitcher as kind of a value guy or a middle-priced pitcher. So this lineup, you can see I used the full amount of salary. It scored 189.3 points. So we can go back and actually check what the cash would have been in that tournament on Wednesday night. So as you can see, the winning lineup was 187.3. So this lineup that we created at 189.3 would have taken down this tournament for first place for 100 grand if you put up the 1K and use the top stack from our model. This is an example of how you can use the stacking feature by selecting a model based on the size of the tournament, and you can just build the lineup with incredible ease. So of course, this is an example. You're not going to win 100K every night. I think over time, though, you'll score plenty of big cashes and hopefully receive a sizable return on your investment if you remember to use a strict bankroll management due to the high variance of MLB and the overall difficulty of consistently cashing tournaments. And you can see the full contest. So nice payouts there that you definitely would have hit on. And if you used multiple lineups, you probably would have been cashing a few more because a couple of these Yankees guys came through in McCann and so on. So let's translate this feature, the stacking tool, into tonight's games, Friday, where I'll now focus on a FanDuel tournament. I think it's kind of the most appealing tournament on either site given prize pool, first place, and amount of people. So you can go to FanDuel really quick and you can see the super home run, which really is just such a terrible name with zero creativity. But anyways, it's 40K to first place, $100 entry fee, and I'm actually going to use the Vegas heavy model for this one. So let's go back to FantasyLabs and click July 1st and go to the main site. Alright, so we'll pull up FanDuel since that's the site we want the tournament from. And we'll click main. Alright, so you can see it's still early in the morning, so lineups aren't confirmed yet, but I can still show you the overall process in creating teams using the stacks feature. So let's go ahead and click the stacks tool. We'll keep it at 4 for the stack size and build by rating once again, and we'll use confirmed and projected. Under lineup status, since none of the lineups are fully confirmed yet. So let's go ahead and click build stacks. So obviously you can see the Red Sox kind of are at the top with a few teams here, and they have the top 2 highest total rating teams, which is kind of obvious because they're projected to score 6.1 runs. For this tourney, however, I want to have exposure to a few teams, so I'm going to select the top rated Boston one, even though I think it'll easily be the highest owned with the 1 through 4 hitters. But luckily this tournament is 2,200 people, so I'm hoping to be contrarian in other aspects of this lineup to differentiate myself from the field. So I'll optimize this lineup, and then all you have to do is click save, which puts the lineup into your My Lineups page, which we'll get into in a second. And let's go ahead and do 4 more, but use different teams to stack. So let's go back to stacks here, and let's use a Houston one. And then let's go ahead and save this. Go back to stacks. I'll use a Twins one, optimize, and save. Alright, Cardinals next. And optimize and save again. And then finally the Giants. I think that's 5, but honestly I lost track of counting. Okay, and then we'll save this one. So now we can just click the My Lineups page where all these lineups are saved. So you can go to MLB and scroll down to the My Lineups page where we can check out our lineups and look at exposures. So you just click FanDuel and go to the main slate, which is where we created the teams. And I did count correctly. We do have 5 lineups, 5 different stacks for the 5 teams that are the most favorable based on the Vegas heavy model, and we optimized the rest. So all you have to do here is click the export button, and you can see it pulls up, downloads it to your computer, a CSV file, and now all you have to do is go to FanDuel and click on the tournament, the Super Duper Home Run, and you just scroll down, and all you have to do is click upload lineups from CSV, choose file, and it should be in your downloads. So here it is. Just click open and upload. Enter 5 lineups. Alright, and then you can go to your upcoming to make sure that you got in these games. So these tools make it as easy as possible for you to not only build optimal tournament teams, but also to enter them in whatever contests you would like. This is how you get return on your subscription investment when you combine the correct tournament building process with intelligent game selection and strict bankroll management. Then you'll see your bankroll will start to grow. So I'll show one more example of our My Lineups page and how it is beneficial when used with our new stacking feature. First, I will clear our 5 saved lineups so I don't enter them into another tournament. If you don't want to shell out the $100 entry fee for the Super Duper Home Run, then you can enter the $3 squeeze, which we'll pull up in the lobby real quick. Alright, so the squeeze right here, 12.5K to first, 48,000 prize pool. Maybe you can create a solid amount of lineups to spread exposure in hopes of getting first place in a top heavy payout. So since this tournament consists of 48,000 people, I'll switch the model to the tournament model, which really heavily emphasizes upside. So let's go back to the models page, and we'll click FanDuel. First we'll pull up the tournament model. Alright, now we'll click FanDuel. And let's make sure to go to the main slate. If you notice from my 5 other teams that I put in the other tournament, I had Bud Norris in all of them. He was the #1 pitcher according to the model. But I don't feel too great about it, having him in 100% after he just got traded to the Dodgers. So to differentiate my starting pitchers in this tournament, you can just set some exposures to differentiate your starting pitchers to a few different guys. So, I think um, I set Bud Norris at 20%, Julio Teheran at 20%, Ian Kennedy. Um, I think Kennedy against the Phillies, they have the 3rd worst WOBA against right-handed pitchers this season. Teheran just been crushing since Tyler Flowers started catching him. Fully expecting Flowers to start in this one with Teheran, and then facing a lefty as well. I like some Michael Fulmer exposure. He struck out 11 Rays last time he faced them. And then I think you got to have some Jacob deGrom exposure, as he definitely has a lot of upside. So I guess I'll do some more Bud Norris exposure as well. You can never have too much Bud Norris. I'm also going to throw the banhammer to Johnny Cueto. I don't really love him pitching at Chase Field, so he's the guy I don't mind fading here. And I'm actually going to take the top 5 team stacks similar to what I did in the last tournament by using the stacking feature, but I'm going to create 20 lineups for each stack. This way, I have exposure to a lot of players overall, but I keep the same 5 cores of 4-player stacks for my lineup. So if one of these stacks hits, I'll have plenty of opportunity to cash high in the tournament. So we'll go ahead and use this Boston stack, and you can generate multiple lineups here. And click 20. And then all you have to do is save lineups. And then close, and let's go back to stacks and do St. Louis and generate multiple lineups. And again, go to 20. Alright, save lineups again. And then back to stacks. We can go ahead and do the Astros. And save lineups once again. Alright, back to stacks. We got the the Twins next. Really struggling clicking that 20. Alright, generate these lineups, kind of same thing for all these. You don't have to do 20, of course. You can do however much you'd like. Save lineups. You don't even have to do multiple. You can just go down the list of these top stacks and just optimize and save to your lineups page. Alright, and finally we'll end it with the let's just go ahead and do Texas. Yeah. Alright, and let's save these Texas lineups to the My Lineups page, and you can just click here to go to the My Lineups page to see our lineups and how we differentiated exposure to certain players. So again, we'll go to FanDuel and we'll go to the main slate here. Alright, so we have 100 lineups. Oh, it looks like some lineups came in, so we'll definitely change that in the meantime. So you can see the exposures. You can click Show All Exposures. And again, this is something I recommend doing kind of later in the day when most of these lineups are out. A few hours probably before lineups lock, with the exception of the Rockies and a few other teams who are always really late. But you can see our entire player pool of all players and all pitchers pretty much nailed our pitching exposure. You can see all the lineups and salary and whatnot. So we have 100 lineups spread apart pitching. Let's go ahead and just click export. I'll go back in and change players that were out and fix that, but for sake of timing on this video, we'll just go ahead and export, and let's go to the squeeze and throw these teams in. Alright, enter a new line. Alright, so again, you'll just do upload lineups from CSV, choose file, and we'll do the new one, and upload, enter 100 lineups, and it's that easy to export 100 lineups into the squeeze. So these are a few examples of how to practically use our stacking feature and our My Lineups page to give you what I think is a very necessary edge in your games, help you become a better player by saving time and making optimal decisions, plus EV decisions. So when you sign up to become a premium subscriber, I think you'll learn that these tools give you such a massive advantage over the field. Stacking is so important in tournaments, managing multiple lineups manually and creating them manually throughout the day is extremely difficult and requires a large amount of time that you probably can't afford. So I encourage you to test out these tools and combine what you've learned in the two previous videos, kind of put it together, put it all into action by entering several tournaments yourself or supplementing your cash games with a few tournament entries. So over the next few days of playing, you should have a pretty solid understanding of how to use our product from top to bottom and extract optimal value out of it. I'll have the fourth video out for you guys early next week that will take you to the next level, where I will explain practical tips and tricks to really help you grow your bankroll with specific strategies on a day-to-day basis that will immediately help you pay for your subscription so the profits can start flowing. I'm really excited to show you guys this new video coming up. Until then, good luck in all of your contests and have fun with our new stacking feature.